Okay. Well, first of all, I would really like to thank the other two groups, NCRR and Tsukimi Kai. We were aware of what they did, and they really did set the groundwork and do all the networking that would allow future groups like us, to go to Cuba. We were really not as ambitious as they were. We went really specifically for the 100th anniversary celebration of Okinawan immigration to Cuba. Last year, they were celebrating the 100th anniversary of Japanese immigration, and later it was Okinawan immigration. And so, we really just went there to have a good time and, party it up. Okay, so we learned about it through the OAA, the Okinawa Association of America, which is in Gardena. You folks might want to go out there and check it out someday. And also through Akiko Kakazu, who has made numerous trips to Cuba, and another young man named Kenta Tomiyama, who was on the junior study tour to Cuba, and he spent like a year there. So we met with them, we heard about it through them, and a big part of what we were doing was we did some fundraising beforehand, and we wanted to put together, gather whatever funds we could and purchase items to take, like medicine, toiletries, clothing, cultural materials, Japanese food, and also a full set of ASA costumes. We tried to apply for a license through OFAC, and we weren't able to get it, but we went anyway. So just for the record, that never happened. We never took anything. Let's see. Okay, so just a couple of impressions real quick that I had. Well, the first thing that struck me was that Cuba is a very beautiful place. Like you can see colonialism and all the architecture and just how everything looks so beautiful, but it looks like it hasn't been touched in a very long time. Buildings are gray, like paint falls off and things don't get repainted. And there is a great like resourcefulness, and people will adapt, and like food options are limited, and but people they'll make do with what they have, and you wouldn't really notice talking to them or meeting people because they are very proud, and you sense this pride. There's an openness among Cubans that comes from pride in who they are, I think. Because they're really proud of their culture and their history, and they see foreign people walking down the street, and they'll say, hey, where you're from, and they like to talk about themselves, and they're just obviously very proud. And it's an interesting parallel because in a place where they have so little and yet they're so proud of things, and then you compare that, what is that noise? You compare that to like a place like America, which obviously is the richest country in the world, but you have a lot of people who complain about certain things, and there are certain shortcomings in society, and it's just an interesting different way to look at it. Another thing is that there's a real strong, I sensed a real strong love-hate kind of feeling among Cubans towards America or North America. They're actually very connected to what goes on in the U.S. What surprised me most is that you go to the hotel and they have like CNN, ESPN, they have like American TV shows and movies. Our tour guide, he was talking about all the bands in the U.S. that he knows, all the TV shows that he keeps up with. So clearly they're proud to be like associated with America. It's like the big brother, but then there's also the awareness of all that's gone on, and so you sense this sort of like resentment too. Let's see what else. So well, basically, I guess my hopes would be that in the future there could be more things like this. Yeah, well, that's all I'm going to say, so I'll pass it on.
Hello, my name is Mariko. Just for the record, there's two of us up here who are UC Santa Cruz graduates as well. And well, let me just explain how ours was a little bit different from the previous groups, because we are going to celebrate 100 years of immigration. So it wasn't that we were going alone. There were groups from other countries who were there. So because when you have groups from different countries visit Cuba, they have it organized so that you have your designated tour operators there that take care of you. So we were foreigners, but we were marked by, we were in a certain bus, we had a certain tour guide. So the Americans were in one bus, the Okinawans were in another bus, the Brazilians were in another bus. Those were the main parties that were there. And so when we first arrived in Havana, there is a Okinawan association there, a small association there, and we had a reception at the leader's house. So it's very nice. It's like a backyard party where everyone from the different countries were just coming in and out throughout the afternoon and evening, and we got to meet people. So that gave us a glimpse of, you know, what their life is like there slightly, and also what all these other foreigners who are coming to visit, because we're all Okinawan connected somehow. We all came from the same source, and now we're here from around the road and celebrating together. And then we flew to the Isla de Juventud, the clips that most of were shown already, like the prison. When we went to the Isla, they had a program where we all were at one hotel, and then our buses would take us. So we didn't have as intimate, perhaps, connections as the previous groups, but we kind of saw the same thing. So we also went to the cemetery there where the pioneer immigrants are buried, and we paid our respects there. And we got to actually meet with the Japanese ambassador who is in Cuba at another reception party. And we've got to see actually all the knowledge that was shared in the previous groups, because when they had their events, they would do dances and do taiko, and they had the lion dance, and we thought, wow, this is great, because 100 years ago they moved to Okinawa, and I know it must be difficult for them to learn about Japanese culture, specifically Okinawan culture, but previous groups have made it possible for them to carry on things. So that was really a nice thing to see in person. And as already mentioned, the resourcefulness of the people. The program they had was at an old theater, and it's not as nice as this, not by a long shot. There was not as much lights. There was difficulty with the lights and the camera work, but they made it happen. You know, they had long extension cords. They had people holding lights wherever they could just to get the program through. And they did demonstrations of karate, koto, different things. It wasn't just the Cubans there. There was a couple outsiders who helped. There was a lady from Mexico City who goes to Cuba every now and then to teach koto, and she was there. And the karate was interesting. I'm not a student of it, so I couldn't tell you specifically, but it's interesting because it's an old form of karate. You know, it's isolated in Cuba, so it was much more perhaps what karate was like 50, 100 years ago in Okinawa. And I don't know how many are actually familiar with Okinawan culture, but there's a specific thing at Okinawan parties where at the very end everyone dances together, and the festivities ended that way. So it was like a hometown feeling. Like when you go back to Okinawa and there's a party, it ends together that way. So. Oh, and minor note, there is a Okinawan band. There's a band from Okinawa. They have some Latin members, meaning that these are Okinawan descent people who grew up in Latin America and then returned to Okinawa. And their name is Kachimba 1313. And they had some members go previously to Cuba to learn firsthand Cuban music. But they were also there this time to perform and to give donations. All of the groups who went, we all, you know, tried to give donations because this is a once-in-a-lifetime sort of opportunity to share culture and to help them preserve their culture. So, next person.